Good morning, everyone. So today we'll be discussing about tone and mood. But before that, I want you to type in your name in the comment section so I may know who are present today in our class. So just write your complete name, starting with your first name, followed by your middle initial and your surname, so that I may know who are present today. So like what I've said, we'll be studying about tone and mood. Maybe some of you have already learned about it while the others are not. So let me just ask you this. How are you feeling today? I hope all of you are doing great. But if you're going to ask me if how do I feel, I am certainly happy and excited, of course. Why? Because we are now in the fourth quarter of our class. So this is the last quarter. And then right after this will be our summer vacation. Isn't that exciting? I know all of you are excited. So let's put so much effort to our lesson for today. And of course, the most important thing, we need to accomplish all the learning tasks that are assigned to us so that we'll not have a problem in the future. All right. So for us to be guided with our lesson this morning, okay, so let us read and let's get to know the objective. This will serve as our guiding star as we go along with our lesson this morning. So you are going to judge the relevance and worth of ideas, soundness of author's reasoning, and the effectiveness of the presentation. So as we go along with our lesson, we'll be having first this one. So let's have a practice. Don't worry, because all the scores that you'll be getting on this activity will not be reflected on your record. So just answer it honestly. There's no need for you to put pressures on yourself because this is not recorded. I just want to know how well you understand about tone and mood. So basically, what you're going to do is you're going to identify the mood and the tone of the following sentences. Number one, which word indicates a tone of happiness to the sentence? Bouncing into the room, she lit up the vicinity with a joyous glow on her face as she told about her fiancé and their wedding plans. A. Vicinity. B. Joyful. C. Wedding. D. Party. So you can type in your answers in the comment section, or you can make use of your paper and pencil, then write it on it. All right. Are we done on the first item? So now let's move on the second item. Later, we will reveal the answers. Number two, identify the mood of the sentence. She hurtled in the corner, clutching her tattered blanket and shaking convulsively as she feverishly searched the room for the unknown dangers that awaited her. A. Fanciful. B. Melancholy. C. Suspenseful. D. Pitiful. So write your answers on your paper or type in your answers. If you're watching right now, you type in your answers on the comment section. All right, let's move on to number three. What is the tone of the following sentence? Or should I say, what is the tone of the sentence? Bursting through the door, the fluttered mother screamed uncontrollably at the innocent teacher who gave her child an F. A, angry. B, suspicious. C, witty. D, happy. Type in your answers in the comment section. So now let's move on. What about in number 4? What is the mood of the sentence? He furtively glanced behind him. For fear of his imagined pursuers, then hurriedly walked on, jumping at the slightest sound, even of a leaf crackling under his own foot. A, sentimental. B, frustrating. C, melancholy. Or letter D, suspenseful. Type in your answers or write it on a piece of paper. And last number. Anna, a little beggar girl of 6, is running through the sidewalk, looking for Onyok, his brother. Her eyes are wide open. Her lips are trembling. Now, how do you describe Anna's feeling? Is it A, calm? B, hopeful? C, anxious? Or letter D, relax? All right, let us try to check your answer. Number 1, the answer is letter B. Number 2, it's letter C. Number 3, it's letter A. Number 4, it's letter D. And number 5, letter C. Did you got it all? For those who got a perfect score, great job. And for those who are not, don't worry, because we'll study further about tone and mood. So this time, let us try to understand what is a tone and what is mood. Let's start. In this quarter, we will be dealing on mood and tone, which are two literary elements that help us create the main idea of a story. The mood is the atmosphere of the story, and the tone is the author's attitude towards the topic. So by learning it, it will help you find meaning in the story or passage, and will definitely help you feel more connected to the writing itself. So it says here that tone is the author's attitude towards the audience, the subject, or the character. It is actually the feelings or the emotions invoked by the author himself to something. Okay, tone is said to be shown through a dialogue, or let's say, for example, when you're speaking. Another thing, tone has something to do with descriptions. Okay, so it has something to do with the author's diction. When we say diction, it's the word choice of the author. Understood? So here are the words that describe tone, like angry, amused, cheerful, critical, clear, formal, gloomy, humorous, informal, ironic, light, matter of fact, mocking, resigned, optimistic, pessimistic, playful, pompous, sad, serious, sincere, suspicious, witty, or quizzical. These are just a few of the examples that we can associate to tone. And I will reiterate to you that whenever we deal with tone, we are dealing with the feelings or emotions or the perspective of the author himself or herself. Understood? What about mood? When we say mood, it is the feeling the reader gets from a story. And apart from that, or should I say, in addition to that, mood has something to do with the feelings or emotions that are present in the atmosphere of that specific scenario, events, or setting. Let's say, for example, you are in a funeral service. What kind of emotions do you think we can imply to that specific event? Definitely, you would have this feeling of sadness or melancholic feelings because there is one of your family who is dead, right? What about when you are in a birthday celebration? What do you think are the feelings in that event that we can imply? Definitely, we can say that they are, or the audience are happy or excited for the games that they are going to experience on that event. What about when you are in a haunted house? How do you feel? Definitely, there's an atmosphere of fear or suspense or maybe your intention, right? So those are the feelings that we can associate to the atmosphere of the event, scenarios, situations in that specific setting. Understood? So how it differs this time in terms of tone. When we talk about tone, it has something to do with with the author's perspective, the feeling of the author. It's actually yours as a reader. What do you think is the feeling invoked on the uttered words of that person? Or should I say, how how did you feel right after reading the statement of that person? Or should I say that author? So the feelings that you imply for that specific statement has something to do with the tone or the author's perspective towards his or her literary manuscript. So now let's move on. So here are some examples of mood that we can see. So we have light-hearted, playful, tender, warm, hopeful, peaceful, idyllic, joyous, inclusive, welcoming, liberating, tense, gloomy, violent. Let's say, for example, the setting has something to do with the warring nations, like the case of Israel and the in Palestine, or should I say Gaza. There's what do you call this? An armed conflict between these two group of people. So there is also pessimistic. You're not looking, you are being negative about something. Cold, let's say for example, when the ambient, let's say for example, you are in Baguio, definitely it's cold. Or maybe you are cold in terms of your feeling towards someone. There's also confining in here, which means, let's say, for example, you are being isolated in a certain place. Okay. Confining is a describing word for mood. We also have hunting. Okay. When you're looking for someone, there's also word suspense. There's foreboding, painful. Okay, painful whenever you see someone being, um, what do you call this? Being hurt by someone else. Threatening, terrifying, and lonely. Okay, we more likely experience lonely if it's raining. So it's the kind of mood that we feel. Let's say, for example, if it's raining and then you're just staying in the window, and then you would eventually feel being lonely and sad, right? Okay, so I hope you understand the difference between tone and mood. And I will reiterate to you once again that when we say tone, it has something to do with your feelings, okay, towards the things that you are reading, or it has something to do with the feelings of the author, okay? While mood has something to do with the atmosphere of the event, scenario, or situation of that specific setting. Understood? All right. So this time, tone is not mood. Why? So let us try to digest the example that we have here. Why is it said that tone is not mood? Okay, and I want to tell you this, that tone and mood are more likely the same in examples that we have a while ago, but they are different in terms of their function, wherein tone has something to do with the feelings or emotions of the author, or it has something to do with the perspective of the author, and it's how you interpret it as a reader. While mood, it describes the atmosphere, okay, the atmosphere of that specific scenarios, event, or situations in that specific setting. So now let's get into this. Tone is not mood. The tone could be serious, but the mood could be ridiculous. Okay, so let's try to find out how how does it happen. So in our example here, he approached the task with sheer determination. So he had studied his plans carefully. He spent hours preparing and was sure of his approach. The hours he spent practicing were grueling and exhausting, but he was ready. This was the year he would win the pie eating at school. So if you're going to digest or read the context itself, on the first three sentences, you would feel how serious and that's it, how serious the person in the context or the speaker is. in this contest that he is preparing for. And then it revealed on the last sentence that he's just joining a pie eating contest in their school. That's so ridiculous, isn't it? So to decode everything, so the tone, according to the author's description on the first to three sentences, the tone can be implied here as serious, intense, formal, and focus, right? While the mood, okay, on the other hand, the last part of the sentence, relative to the setting, okay, it gives us the feeling of being playful, informal, silly, and excitement. So that's what it's all about. Okay, so tone is not mood. Likewise, mood is not a tone. Okay, always remember that. So, do you have any questions? So if you have questions that is popping into your mind or that bothers you, please do comment it in the section below, okay? So that I may know and I could give you an answer to all of those questions that are vague into your mind. So this time, in order for me also to know if you really learned from our lesson, let's have an activity. So there are just two activities that you are going to work on. And on learning task number one, you are just going to identify the tone and mood for each scenario. So you are going to choose your answer in the pool of words below. So there are pool of words in there that you are going to pick for each of the statements. Okay, each statement in a specific number. In learning task number two, you are going to write a scenario or an event that relates to the following tone and mood in each number. Let's say, for example, the tone is happiness. Then you're going to write a scenario on the second column. Let's say, for example, Maria is celebrating her 18th birthday next Saturday. And she's very happy because his father is going to attend her special day on that day after working so long in United Arab Emirates. So that's it. You're just going to create your own scenario, okay, or event in that column. Understood? So now let's move on to our assignment. So on your assignment, as we meet on the second week of our fourth quarter, please do read the summary of Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. Then, of course, you're going to answer the following questions that follow. Understood? All right. So with that, thank you so much for listening and God bless us all. Goodbye.